A story that I just learned recently has the potential to blow your mind. The adage, "follow the money," is very apt in this circumstance because if you are sharp-witted, you may be able to profit from the rise in the number of women who do not get married or have children. You are probably very familiar with some data and statistics that show that the segment of the population that is the least happy is composed of women who are between the ages of 40 and 50 and who have never been married or had children. This segment of the population has been shown to have the lowest levels of happiness. Consider signing up for a wine box or one that delivers cat food on a regular basis. Oh, and remember to take your medication at the prescribed times. In spite of the fact that some women may be making more money than they ever have before, it is still the case that money does not necessarily buy happiness all of the time. Some women took part in demonstrations and rallies in order to seek equal rights. However, once they obtain those rights, they either ignore the equality for which they fought and instead focus on their privileges, or they point the finger of blame solely at an external agent. Some women have done both. Honey, the job market is not nearly as attractive as you might believe it to be, pun intended. When someone claims to be working toward equality, it's easy to roll your eyes because there's just so much evidence pointing in that direction. These individuals, who are obviously referring to others who don't care very much about them, pair one statement from one person with another made by someone else rather than carefully thinking through their arguments before using them. It is obvious that they are referring to others who don't care very much about them. They behave in this manner rather than giving careful consideration to the manner in which they will use their arguments. You and I are both aware that certain viewpoints have received a lot of attention because they benefit the ruling class, while the average person, and men in particular, pay the price for this benefit. As adults, many people place a higher value on proving that they are right than they do on expanding their knowledge, which can make it difficult to hold a debate in a respectful manner. Do not be afraid to live your life as a man. If you're an MGTOW or men going their own way, it's your job to make sure you're happy and balanced, and chances are, if you don't date any modern-day women, you won't miss it one bit. The title of the article that I had referred to before was "Why Many Single Women Without Children Are So Happy," and it was published in Psychology Today. He will take you step by step through it to refute the myths and provide modern-day ladies with a significant reality check when they are attempting to capture unicorns and are living in a parallel realm where they feel like a 10 out of 10, even though they have a poor personality. The author will guide you through the material to dispel the myths and provide contemporary women with a sobering dose of reality. The primary argument of the piece is that unmarried women without children tend to report higher levels of happiness. The group of persons who claim the highest levels of happiness are married males aged 39 with children, as stated in an article that was published in the Made by Women for Women Evie magazine. The category of people who report the lowest levels of satisfaction is made up of married women who are 42 years old, have professional employment, and make $100,000 per year, even though I've said in the past that money can't buy happiness. At least some women are starting to realize that, quote-unquote, they can afford certain accessories, vacations, and spa treatments. This is despite the fact that I've said that money can't buy happiness. Second, and I'm sure you're going to love this one, of course, it's plain as day that women have larger social networks outside of their romantic partnerships. This is something that I'm sure you're going to love. This is something that has been demonstrated to be true time and time again. If a woman tells you that she dresses in a certain way or wears a certain item of clothing in order to make herself feel more confident and to please herself, you should question whether or not she wears makeup when she's alone in her house. Why on earth would she put on a daring lip color when there is no one else in the house to see her, especially one as bold as red lipstick? You are beginning to comprehend it. Given how out of control society has become, and how common it is for individuals to stray sexually and cheat on one another. It is not surprising that men would prefer not to make a long-term commitment to a woman, seek out faithful partners in other countries, or simply give up dating altogether. If you're a man and you're going on a date with a woman, there's a good chance that you're not the only man she's checking out. Of course, if you've been involved in the dating scene before you realized that being a one-woman man was not a good option, then you probably participated in the dating scene before you realized that. Because, despite the fact that you now have some measure of equality, you are still not content. It should come as no surprise that men favor being single over being in a relationship with a woman. Here's a good example. It would appear that satisfying her desires is not enough for her because she will continue to demand more things from you until she meets someone better and breaks up with the guy in question. This is because she will continue to demand things from you until she meets someone better and breaks up with the guy in question. Second, when it comes to the selection of a life partner, women are known to be more selective than single males. This is because, in contrast to women, men are accustomed to being unsuccessful and having their efforts thwarted, but women are not. As a direct consequence of this, men are more likely than women to worry about being rejected or failing. When you're a teenager, it can be difficult to live on your own, which can be made much more difficult by the fact that everything was so darn expensive back then. It was difficult for the state and the educational system to indoctrinate the children because the mother-in-law chose to be a stay-at-home parent and raise the children instead of working outside the home. However, in today's society, both husbands and wives work jobs that demand them to be present from 9 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon, and they spend a large amount of time away from home. This makes it difficult for married couples to spend quality time together. As a direct consequence of this, children have a greater risk of being brainwashed and continuing this downward spiral. Do not allow yourself to be led astray by the exaggerated and unreachable assertions that they make. An increasing number of guys are becoming aware of this fraud as an increasing number of people fall for it. Ladies who choose not to have children wind up being sad in life, even if they have a lot of money. Some of these women even declare that they have frozen their eggs just in case, so that they may prepare themselves for the harsh reality of the wall that all of that money has. Men don't want to put in long hours at work just so they can argue with their wives over trivial matters when they get home. And they don't want to try to teach their children when those children are already being trained by the educational system. To their great benefit, men who choose to be alone tend to have an easier time navigating the challenges of life and are more likely to take tremendous pleasure in being alone. You can help spread the word by leaving a comment on it. People, I'll be sure to catch up with you in the next video. That will do for the time being.